Okay. Ooh, I'm going to actually turn off my... As much as it's going to pain me, I'll turn off my fan because I don't want that background whiz going on. It's gonna pain me because of how hot it's been the past day, but I think we'll live for the superior.
Oh, it's been raining here for the last 2 days.
Oh, I'll take that
Nice and
over
cool.
this heat.
Yep.
Oh boy. So hopefully we are currently live. I'm just going to double check to make sure that we are indeed live. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know how you are doing out there. If you're staying cool or if the weather isn't being ridiculously
Yeah, we've had
hot.
some really hot weather, and now it's decided to feel more like fall, which is a kind of a nice thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's a killer.
I like the
Um,
heat, but I don't like the being in the sun.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I like when I get to choose that I'm in the heat. Like I like saunas and hot showers and all those kinds of things. But like the minute
Right.
I can't leave it, then I'm like, no, I'm out. I can't do this.
No, exactly. Too damn hot.
That's it. That's it. Oh boy. Well, it looks like we're live. So let us know how you're doing out there. I've got my eye on the chat. So pop into the chat, say hi, see how everybody's doing. I'm going to break the matrix for a second to get down to the tier list that we're working with. Today we are talking about Transatlantic with Brent from Similitude of a... I almost said Similitude of a Dream. Similitude of Prague.
Okay.
How's
Now
it?
you know where I got the name from.
I do, yeah, yeah. So welcome back. This is your second time. The first time we kind of botched the sound a little bit. So
Yeah. I
that
hope this
that
is a little better.
that was 100% on me. That was all my fault. But thanks for coming back and
Hey,
talking
good to
to,
be back.
yeah, talking about some transatlantic. So
Yeah.
I gotta know, how did you get into transatlantic? Like, what was your first album, and how did you discover them?
Right from the beginning, actually, being
Oh.
a Dream Theater fan and obviously a Spock's Beard fan,
Mm-hmm.
and those two getting together, Neil Morris and Mike Portnoy. I didn't really know a lot of the Flower Kings at the time. I was fairly familiar with Marillion, but
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like a dream come true that two of my heroes were going to get in a band together, and well,
Yeah.
you know the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Tremendous history.
Just found out that I've got two albums at a place here. That's somebody's going to mention it in the comments, like that one's over there. There we go. And as with most of my live streams, I will also mention that there might be a little bit of a sound delay, only because I haven't figured out quite yet how to run a direct audio link for Brent, but his audio seems to be coming in crystal clear, so that's the main part.
Perfect.
Yeah. Um, no, that's fantastic. The way that I got into transatlantic, I'm actually trying to remember. I know that it was when I was doing my undergrad. So
Okay.
at that point, I had already devoured all of Dream Theater's work of the time, Spock's Beard's work at the time. Same with the Flower Kings and Marillion. Like Marillion was one of my favorite bands when I was a teenager. Loved everything from them. I was definitely more of a Fish fan than a Hogarth fan.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Um,
No, that's fine.
yeah, and so I think I discovered them where there was a record store, because I did my undergrad up in Sudbury, Ontario, and there was a record store over on Main Street that had a lot of their stuff. And I picked up Bridge Across Forever and just fell in love with them. And then
Yeah.
I ordered. No, I think I went down to the big HMV that's in Toronto, just on like the Dundas Square area. That's like 3 stories, and bought the special edition of the Whirlwind, and then just fell in love with them from there. So that was kind of my musical journey of transatlantic, and love them. I've subsequently went back and I've listened to their first one, even though that's the only one outside of their latest one that I don't have in the physical CD. So yeah, and I actually have the props here. I've got all my CDs with me that we can share and show. So let's start putting these through the tier list. Let's start talking about
Perfect.
them through and through, starting with their first album that I always just called their first album. I couldn't. I know some people call it Stemped, But for me, it's their first album. What do you think about this guy? What do you think about their first album?
Um, I'm going to say it's probably middle of the road for me
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
their discography. Nothing real outstanding on it, but nothing really cringeworthy either. It's always a good listen.
Yep.
Um, Other than that, I don't have much else to say about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on board with that. Like, I found it was a good entry, and like whenever we were talking about this a little bit before, like when I first found out about these guys, and I found out that Transatlantic, I'm like, ooh, is this like a super group like Asia was? But is it going to be like Asia and all these pop stuff? Because I do know that Neil Morse and Mike Portnoy, they both love the Beatles, and I'm like, oh, is this going to be like how John Wetton and all of them decided to do all this arena rock? But luckily, what we find is pure prog. I do feel as though this one is. It felt to me more like a Neil Morse side project rather than a collaboration between the four artists that are on here.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah. And it's not that it's bad. Like, We All Need Some Light is probably my favorite ballad of all of Transatlantic's ballads, because they usually have like one or two on each of their albums. It's probably my favorite of theirs, and I do love the very like Beatles inspired kind of flow from that other track that they have on there. I do feel as though All of the Above being the big 30 minutes one, it doesn't do it a whole lot for me. Like, it's great, but it doesn't have that big crescendo. It doesn't have that big oomph at the end.
It's a tad long.
Mm-hmm.
You could have maybe cut off 2 or 3 minutes of it.
Yeah, and we probably wouldn't have lost anything.
No, or have to cut it up on the vinyl release. That noise that.
Well, that's it. Like, that was part of the reason why when they re-released this on vinyl, I skipped it, and I didn't want to get it, because unlike other prog epics that span multiple sides like Carnival, First Impression, or Thick as a Brick, or like tracks like those, it doesn't have a very clear stop and go moment. It just, like, literally the track stops, you gotta flip the album over, and the track begins again.
That's still the way in my brain that I hear it too. When I'm listening to the CD, I'm like,
yeah. You start panicking, like, oh.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. So for me, I want to put this, and again, you have veto power. We can discuss this. I would put this more between like a B and a C. Middle of the road. It's good. It's not great. I wouldn't put it higher than a B, but I wouldn't put it lower than a D. So I'm kind of wavering with this one. I don't return to it as much as their other stuff.
No, me either.
So again, you can veto it, but I want to put this more in a C.
I would say that's where it belongs.
Okay, good. I'm glad that we're.
It's good for what it is.
Yeah.
But things get better as they come.
They do indeed. And I think this is a perfect segue into their second release, The Bridge Across Forever.
Yes.
Make that a little bigger so everybody can see. I love this album. This was my first album of theirs. The two epics that start and close this, Stranger in Your Soul and Duel with the Devil, I think it's their best work. I love both of these epics in the grand finale crescendo. They build up perfectly. They pay off perfectly. And even so, I've got the CD here that I can show off. I don't know if you've got yours handy, but there's mine.
I've just got mine in a case because mine came with the record. So.
Oh, beautiful.
I should have grabbed the records and shown them, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very tempted. I haven't done it yet. I probably should. I want to pick up the actual record itself. But I also love like the smaller 2 tracks, like Sweet Charlotte Pike is really, really nice, and I love how it reprises itself at the very, very end of Stranger in Your Soul. Bridge Across Forever, I do feel is the weakest track off this album, and that's just my own personal take.
It is, but you've got to have your Neil Morris ballad on the album, so that's
You
the
do.
one. And it's not that bad. I know what you're saying, but
It's by far it is not his worst ballad, because he's got
no.
a lot of really, really bad ballads.
There is some cheesy ones out there.
There is some cheesy ones for sure. But yeah, it's the lowest point for me. I usually skip it. But it's, yeah, all the other tracks though, A plus. And even with Bridge Across Forever, I still enjoy it for what it is. And so yeah, it's an absolute delight. What do you got for this album?
It's top tier for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's, in my opinion, their best album.
Mm-hmm.
I praise it even more than the Whirlwind.
Yeah.
Which I'm probably going to get flack for saying.
Oh,
but
that's fine.
I think it's a much better album, a better listen, better better flow.
Yep. Yeah, for me, this is an absolute S. I think this is retro prog and even progressive rock in its best form. And like when people usually ask me what's a standard prog album, this is one that I absolutely point to.
It's a good choice, and it sounds like a group effort too.
It does, yeah. And like, because this one came so closely off of the heels of their first one, I feel like there was a lot more.
Less than a year?
Less than a year. Yeah. So I feel like there was a lot more creative endeavors going on from all, rather than it being composed mainly by Morse and then the rest of the band filling in. I felt like this was a much more collaborative effort. So definitely with you on that.
Same thing.
Yeah. Beautiful. This is going to be easy because we've been 2 for 2 so far. Yeah. Now we go on to, they went on a little bit of a break just due to scheduling and whatnot, and then they put out the Whirlwind, the next album. What do you think about the Whirlwind? Because you said that it's yeah, I'm interested.
To be honest with you, I would rank it a lot, probably. When I say C or D.
Interesting.
I'm not a big fan of it.
Okay.
I find it's a more or less a Neil Morris album, and I'm not saying that to put the man down, because he's one of mine and yours favorite musicians, but I think would have came across better if it was just a solo album of his.
Interesting.
I remember Mark Portnoy saying it was, comparing it to Metropolis, to Scenes of a Memory, and what was the other one? Similitude. And he ranked it up there, and I disagree with that. I think those two albums are a lot better than the Whirlwind is.
Interesting. I think this might be the only time when we disagree, because for me, this one is, again, a top tier. This one, I love the concept of it. I love the unifying themes of it. I love the musical presentation. I feel like the way that it's structured in how through the overture and the first couple of tracks they lay out the roadmap for where the album's going to go later on, and then how they actually unearth and kind of dive into and explore those themes, I really, really enjoy and love. Because a lot of these like long stretches of music can get tedious and a little overindulgent at times, and obviously this one does as well. But for me, it's a very satisfying package. I don't feel as though it reaches the grand heights as Bridge Across Forever, but I feel like Bridge Across Forever and the Whirlwind are kind of the perfect 1-2 punch. I was originally going to put this into the S tier, because that's where I have it, but that's just on me. Yeah, so I think this is going to be the only one where we disagree on. I mean, maybe, but yeah. So how are we going to rectify this?
Well, I can appreciate the merit and why people like it. So I'd be happy with it in a B instead of the D that I suggested.
Right, yeah. I can split the difference a little bit. Man, do I want to put it in a B? Because I feel like the only place that I want to put this is in an A. Because A for me is as far as I want to put it. I don't want to put it any further down. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put this right between A and B.
That works.
Just for now.
Yeah. We compromised.
We'll compromise a little bit, yeah, because I do understand where you're coming from in that it is much more of a Neil Morse project, very much like their first album. There's not quite as much collaboration, but yeah, I still can't. I still think it's one of his best works. Anyway, that's just on me.
Fair enough.
We can move on to the next.
Things differently.
Yeah, we can move on to the next one of Kaleidoscope. So I'm going to kind of take the same stance that you did for the Whirlwind in that this was their first album that I listened to that I was honestly disappointed in. I've got the Whirlwind double disc with all the bonus tracks on there. I do love what they do with Salty Dog and Giant Hogweed. But I do also have the bonus triple disc with the bonus DVD. And what I also love is how these bigger bonus discs have a lot of covers on them. Like this one has And You and I, Goodbye Rebel, Yellow Brick Road, and Indiscipline, which I thought was an interesting choice. But
yeah, that second disc, I've got the LP version and it comes with it. The bonus tracks on that album are superb.
They're fantastic.
Very good.
Fantastic stuff. But yeah, the only track that I come back to on this album is Black as the Sky. Shine, I think, is a very sincere track, but it is that Neil Morse ballad, and it can get a little bit cringy at times. I do honestly enjoy Into the Blue, but I do think it's about 5 minutes too long. I think it should have been just a 20 minute track. And Kaleidoscope, I am not, like the title track, I am not a fan of. I've listened to it multiple times, and there's nothing that really gets me excited. I feel like this one tried to recapture what they were doing with Bridge Across Forever, and they just missed the mark a little bit. But that's just for me. What do you think about this album?
I'm a little bit different. I think it's day and night compared to the Whirlwind. I think Into the Blue is a tremendous song. It's probably my favorite Transatlantic song.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you on the title track. They could have cut about 5 minutes off of that.
Yep.
It does go on a little bit too long. Shine is cheesy, like you say.
I will admit, though.
But I know it's out of the Bridge Across Forever and the one from SMPTe.
Mm-hmm.
I find it the least cringeworthy.
Okay, that's fair. And I will admit, I believe they wrote it for a friend of theirs who was in the hospital.
Yes.
And the genuine place that this song came from, it minimizes the amount of cringe, because whenever a song like this is coming from a very sincere place, I can't fault it for that.
Exactly.
So I will give it a pass on that one, even if it's the most cringe track, but like not that much.
No.
I wouldn't quite say that it's better than Shine, or not Shine. That is the one. The one from the first one of
We all need the light.
We all need some light. Yeah, because what they do on, I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but what they do with We All Need Some Light on the Whirlwind tour, like the Whirl tour, is with Roland's introduction. It's just beautiful, because I've got my other one is, I've got the same one there.
That wasn't planned.
That wasn't planned, no, because my other one is over in my actual DVDs, because it's the big DVD book. But yeah, what they're able to do with We All Need Some Light with that intro is just...
Oh, it's breathtaking.
It's so good. It's so good. But yeah, Shine is still okay.
Shine gets bonus points for me because Neil Morse shares the vocals with Roy Stolt.
That's true. Yes. Yeah, he gives the reins up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we are at a little bit of a differ of opinions on these middle albums. So where would you rate this one? Because for me, this one is kind of a BC. It's I wouldn't put it any lower than a C, but I wouldn't really put it any higher than a B. Whereabouts would you place this guy? You said that it's you like this one better than the Whirlwind?
Yes.
Interesting.
I would place it probably right where you have the Whirlwind right now.
Mm.
I would put it in the A category myself.
Mm-hmm. We split the difference on the Whirlwind, so we can split the difference again on Kaleidoscope. Yeah, not a huge fan of it myself. But as you're not a huge fan of the Whirlwind, I feel okay splitting the difference for these two albums.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then we come to the most recent one, the one that was released today. Or not today, this year. Instead of doing it in the 1-2 punch of the extended edition and the abridged edition, I just decided to do this as the Ultimate Edition.
The Ultimate Edition, yep.
I figured that's the easiest way to tackle this one because I don't want to talk about the abridged edition and then talk about the extended edition and then have to talk about the Ultimate Edition. So it's one project about it. Now, I know that you, because you and I have already reviewed this album, so I know a little bit about your thoughts about this album. But do you want to talk a little bit more about your thoughts about this album?
Sure. Musically, four heroes come together, and the musicianship is off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, but I find it the most bland, uninspired album of theirs. I think it's just they played it too safe, and they didn't come up with anything to, give us fans much to write home about.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my stance on it. I don't know, maybe I overhyped it when it was coming out and thought it was going to be so much better, but musically it's perfect, but they didn't take chances to me, and that's why I'm going to rate it fairly low in the chart.
That's fair, and I can completely understand why this one didn't necessarily connect, because I believe originally this was supposed to be the Whirlwind 2. When they actually went into the studio and recorded it, they had that idea that it was going to be the Whirlwind Tour. One long track. And it does feel like that, especially on the extended, where there's so much callbacks to the Whirlwind, the themes and the actual lyrics itself. I found that this album has grown on me. Like, when I first listened to it, I couldn't say that I was disappointed. I thoroughly enjoyed both. Perfectly honest, I listened to the abridged version first and got used to it. And then I went and listened to the extended edition, and I think I did it properly in that sense. Because I enjoyed how they extended and brought, kind of flushed out the music, rather than listening to the extended version first and then see how they truncated it. So that was how I went, and I actually enjoyed the music more so in that sense. I do agree with you in that they played this album very, very safe. And especially when last year Neil Morse did the exact same thing with Sola Gradia. I think I pronounced that right. Sola Grata?
Gratia?
That's it, Gratia. Thank you. I can't pronounce words to save my life.
I like that too.
Yeah, so one of my favorite solo works from him, which is Sola Scriptura. And I felt like when he came out and did the sequel of Sola Gratia, it was fine. And again, much like this, on paper, the music itself is very good. I just didn't feel all that connected with it.
Yeah.
And they kind of did the same thing with this one. The saving grace for me is their decision to produce this album as two separate entities, as one being a double album of the same track and one being an abridged of a single. I enjoy that aspect of it, but it
It's brilliant marketing.
Oh, it's
Who
great.
would have
They
done that? Like, that's unheard of.
they essentially force their fan base to buy the album twice.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't
I
want
had
to
to
do
buy
that?
the big box set.
I was so close. I was this close to getting the box set, but because Kaleidoscope had stung me a little bit, I was just like, I'm gonna hold off and see what the music has first, and then I'll go. And if I miss it, I miss it. Whatever. Yeah. So rating this one is, I want to put this one in a solid B, because I do think that it's better than their first album, but it's not as good as I still think that it's better than Kaleidoscope, but it's definitely a solid B album in its entirety.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
A D.
A D. Oh wow. So you think this one's their worst?
I just, I'm comparing it to the self-titled, or not self-titled, the first one.
The first one, yeah.
I get more out of that album than I do it.
Interesting.
To be honest.
No, that's fair. Okay. So, do we want to put it kind of like what we did with the other ones and kind of split the difference between
it deserves that.
Yeah, B and a C? Kind of.
Yeah.
We're taking it outside of the regular tier list and kind of doing something a little bit our own here.
There we go.
I feel okay with this. Because I will agree, it's not necessarily their best work. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's their worst, but it's far and away from their best.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a trip. Thank you so much for that. No, I love it. Like, it's, as much as I love when people reinforce my own thoughts and things, I love when somebody has a difference of opinions, because it makes me reevaluate and look through. Because I mean, maybe I'll go through, because I also have the Kaleidoscope, the big Kaleidoscope one here, which. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Oh, you've got the DVD version. Yeah, I just got the 3 CDs and 1 DVD, and it's fine. I'm not a huge fan of the Whirlwind medley, but I understand that they couldn't not play sections from the Whirlwind, and they couldn't
get out of the building alive.
Yeah, and they can't play the whole thing, so I get it. And I also do enjoy the medley of All the Above and Strangers in Your Soul. I thought that was very, very good. I gotta admit, Hocus Pocus, seeing them perform that with the names escaped me already, and I should know this.
Oh yeah, I can never pronounce it.
But seeing him on there,
I know who you mean.
Yeah, seeing him on there and actually do some Hocus Pocus by Focus was just 10 out of 10. So yeah, the actual live performance of it made me reevaluate it a little bit. And maybe I'll go back and fully listen to the whole thing from start to finish, because I haven't actually sat down and listened to the album in quite a long time. So yeah, this was a very interesting one. Thank you so much for coming on. And
no, it's been my pleasure. Coming into it, I knew what was going to be number one for both of us easily. Mm-hmm. But I'm just a little bit surprised.
Yeah. So same here, and I'm always love that. Yeah, and maybe it's the rose-tinted glasses of, like, when I was listening to the Whirlwind for the first time, moving away from home, being my own guy for the first time, and then, where I was with Kaleidoscope, and maybe I need to reevaluate that. But yeah, thanks for coming on. This was a great time.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't already, please follow Brent. I've left his link down below for Similitude of Prog. Great reviews, great record collection. Love his videos, so go and show him some support and some love. Is there anything you want to promote or talk about?
No, just summer's winding down, so I'll start getting more videos out and trying a few different things on the channel, top 10s and stuff, and just trying to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, it's always a good time. So
definitely.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you guys for watching another live stream and a tier list. If you haven't already, for myself, I've got my podcast of Quid Pro Quo. I'm going to let you guys know that I've got a video essay that I've just finished writing, coming out very, very soon. It's a little different. I was trying to do one a year. Haven't done one for a couple of years, so I figured it was time. So hopefully everybody will enjoy that. And that's...
Look forward to that.
Yeah. And then I know I'm going to be talking about all the new albums that are coming out in the next couple of weeks. So
Yeah.
I'm also super looking forward to everybody else's reactions to those. So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for watching, and until next time, Notes and Brett from Similitude of Prog, we're out.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
That's beautiful.
These times.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's right. Bye everybody.
Night.